Now, the other use of the term mobile first applies to how we code the CSS for our site. Earlier on, when we were building our first slideshow, we added some media queries to our CSS in order to load different sizes of the background image for that slideshow. In it, we started by using a media query for max width, which says to the browser, use these particular styles if the browser has a maximum width of this particular size. Now, ultimately, we found that it made more sense to use min width because that allowed us to cascade breakpoints as the screen got bigger. So if the screen size has a minimum of 0 pixels width, that is, it's the smallest screen possible, we're going to use the smallest image possible. And then if the screen is at least the size of a tablet, that is, has a minimum width of a tablet, then we're going to use a medium-sized image. And then if the screen has a minimum width of what we would see in a desktop, then we're going to use a large image. So another aspect to going mobile first with our code, that is using min width instead of max width, is that the browser will only process the styles that are in the smallest breakpoint for the width of the screen that it's trying to build the CSS for. So what that means is that we have some base CSS that's set for the smallest version of the screen, and then we add overrides to that CSS, which means adding more CSS styles as the screen gets bigger. In general, the bigger the screen, the more processing power the machine is going to have, and so the smaller browsers have to deal with less CSS because it's not actually processing the rules in those larger media query breakpoints, and we're instead deferring those overrides so that only larger screens are having to deal with those. Now, CSS performance in general isn't a huge deal, but in terms of working off of principles, this approach makes sense, both practically speaking and performance speaking. And so mobile first, when it comes to coding, means that you use min width in media queries instead of max width. And even though from there that changes the approach to how you design or lay out different elements on your page, that's really the core of what mobile first means when it comes to coding.